Good morning and welcome to the AutoTalk Weekly Wrap. I'm Rich Edwards and it is totally not Thursday afternoon and I'm totally not on a plane to Sydney at about the time that we're really doing this. Yeah, well, this is a pre-record. Where I'm away today, but we figured we had a week off, so we figured we better be on time and actually do one this week. Thankfully, joining me on this Thursday afternoon is Graham McDonald out there at a dealership in West Auckland and David Crawford in his home office down in Wellington. It's a bit chilly down there, David. It's warm up here, but is the weather a bit chilly down south?
Well, my room is on the south side of the house, and I've had the window open, so it's a little bit cooler. I'm in shorts and a warm top, so you know.
And meanwhile, on the catwalk.
Hey, I'm in shorts too, but it's like.
Well, hey, in a minute, given this is the Milli Vanilli of recordings are going on here, and it's really not Thursday afternoon. I'm on a nice Friday morning, and it's a little bit cold here in West Auckland because the forecast yesterday when we were thinking about recording this was that it would rain. So I'm going to be dressed appropriately for the occasion tomorrow.
But you only ever wear basically a shirt and jeans.
I possess nice things, Richard. So happens my work uniform here is actually, but I know you. Yeah, okay, you got me. Yes, jeans and a shirt. That's me. The joys of the used import world.
Yes. And this man, he does literally own a pair of white leather shoes. Anyway, moving on.
Excuse me?
Have we done one of these since AutoTalk Live? We have.
Yes, I think we have. Yes, we have.
Good.
Yes, we talked about our road trip.
We're all blending together at the moment.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get on the road with this because we have a relatively short amount of time today and a few extra things to cover. First off, we're going to run through that the first issue of Autocar under Auto Media Group's remit is in stores now. So you can go and check out that magazine at all good supermarkets, bookstores, airport relay outlets, all that kind of stuff. Go buy one before I go broke, as they say. But it's a good magazine. The BYD Shark 6 and the Kia Tasman, controversial wee vehicle there, are on the cover. MG Cyberster, a whole lot of other stuff. Really good magazine. And we're doing a pretty sweet promotion. If you buy one this month in a store, you can go in the draw to win one of 3 massive Big Maguire's car care packs. And if you go and jump online at autocar.co.nz and subscribe, you can go in the draw to win either $1,000 worth of MTA vouchers to spend on your summer road trip or $1,000 worth of ChargeNet credit. And it's not a case of either or, whoever wins gets to choose. We're giving away both. So
nice.
Yeah, well worth it. And particularly if you're an electric vehicle enthusiast, well, you probably got a slightly higher chance there of winning the credit, you see? So, yeah. Anyway. Good.
I like that you said it's available at all good supermarkets. I think you wouldn't really care if it's sold at the crap ones either, to be honest, would you?
No, I guess not. No, that's true. Interestingly, service stations are pulling out of magazine sales in New Zealand. It used to be when I was young, you'd go to the service station to get your car magazine. They are pulling out of them. Zed is pulling out their magazine stands. It's an interesting move. But
our local where I get my coffee from has actually done just that. It's a mobile, and they've just finally got rid of the magazine rack, and it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Maybe motorists don't have time to read. I'm not too sure what the idea there is, but it is a shame.
Yes. Now, next topic that isn't straight into the news, and it's a story that I've been looking at, but umming and ahhing on. Maybe the crowd will have some comments here. Graham, have you ever sent a member of the public a picture of a poo in a toilet?
Let me think about it for a second, Richard. No.
David, have you ever sent a member of the public a picture of a poo in a toilet?
I was going to say, everyone's thinking right now, did it have to be in a toilet? Is there... I mean, you could have just narrowed the field down a bit.
Right.
We know this is leading, Richard.
Yes. So we got emailed a couple of weeks back by a member of the public. Gee, it was while we were on our way back from AutoTalk Live, sending us a rather bizarre exchange between a member of the public and a dealer. that ended in the dealer emailing the member of the public a picture of a poo in a toilet. Now, I'm not sure if it was the dealer's poo. I'm not sure if it was a random picture of poo they pulled off the internet.
But it was literally that.
Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting case. The person was representing someone who claims they purchased a Cherry J1, that automotive icon of quality, from this dealer. And the car, which was purchased without a warrant, turns out had gone to shit. Oh, see what I did there? And so they wanted their money back. But this dealer was pretty much playing, wait, what? We didn't sell you that car. Despite the fact, for all the evidence in the world, they did sell the car, including the fact that the car, at the time they approached them, was still listed on their AutoTrader account. Now, I've had a sniff around the story since. The dealer claims that the car was simply sold by the dealer principal, happened to be through the yard, and it was in their system, but the money didn't go to the car dealer. It went straight into his personal bank account. That's not how
that
that
makes
works,
it all
is
fine,
Graham?
isn't it?
It's not how it works. Last time I checked in the Motor Vehicle Sales Act.
It's a bit of a stinky story there, Richard.
Got a whip about it for sure.
Ooh.
I thought the degree of irony there, in that I'm not meaning to cast shade upon the might of the Cherry J1, but you would have thought under the circumstance it would have been the buyer sending the dealer a photo of the purchase rather than the other way around. But, that's just me. It's an amazing story, Richard. I don't know how much you want to expand upon it. I'll leave that to you, whether you want to or not. But to me, it was an incredible story for the fact that it actually got to that point. We hold ourselves up here to be professionals and in the vehicle trade, and we know that some customers are harder to get on with others. There are people out there, for all the customer is always right mantra, there are some people that are actually really difficult people that are just itching for a fight. We've all seen that, I'm sure, and we smile and we just do what we can to try and smooth the situation. But some people really do provoke that. But to go to that level, that is, I've never seen that before.
And let me explain to dealers a little something called the Barbra Streisand effect. So what happened was this guy had this debate with this guy of this car. By sending the picture of the poo, the guy was like, well, that's enough. So he posted it up on Reddit. Reddit's basically the internet's bulletin board. A lot of coverage goes through it. A lot of newspapers pick up stuff from Reddit. And the post went reasonably big. The dealer found out that the post was up on Reddit, possibly from me inquiring. And so he threatened legal action against the customer who posted, the customer they claim is not a customer, who posted the item to Reddit. And that post went even bigger. So, yeah, for the sake of a couple of grand, just don't. Just please don't. Just don't do dumb stuff is against the MVSA. And then don't send pictures of poo when it goes wrong. Just don't.
I think that's the central point, Richard, is it doesn't matter who was right or wrong. Like I said, it could have been that the dealer was completely in the right, and it could have been the member of the public was just being an absolute asshat. But that's the line you don't cross. At some point in time, we have to be big boys and girls and pull our big pants on and say, that's far enough, call it a loss, move on, do something else.
With social media these days, you never know in the bowels of that where the story's going to pop out.
Yeah. So I'm probably sitting on it for a little bit, but the case is certainly interesting.
That is just a no in terms of customer service. I mean, even with a customer you don't want to come back. The problem is, if you don't want a customer to come back, you just deal one-on-one with the customer in a way that it can't be recorded and can be later be shown. Because you're right, this is the Barbra Streisand effect. It comes back and, I was going to say, another pun, bite you in the bum, literally. So this is just not a good story at all for the dealer.
I believe they're taking this to the tribunal. The dealer's going to lose in the tribunal, I guarantee you, and stuff is going to pick this up. So,
do you mean to say that this hasn't yet been resolved?
No.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm privy to the finer details of this because it was occurring as you and I were literally sitting in the airport lounge in Christchurch. And I just can't believe that it's taken this long and it's still not resolved. With all the oxygen this thing has obviously got across social media, somebody just needs to say, you know what, we're going to lose this one. Let's just now clean the whole mess up, put the harpic on it, and flush it away. It's got to go. It's got to go.
Now, the stupid thing about it all is that this dealer had a really strong 5-star buyer score.
Buyer score? Yep.
So it's just, they put that at risk. They put everything at risk by doing that. Just silly. Just silly. Anyway, let's move on. And we'll move on to a topic that I know is not necessarily automotive industry in New Zealand, but certainly has a few people talking today, and that is Donald Trump winning the American election and his Make Automotive Great Again policy, and it's going to impact global trade. So President-elect Donald Trump has outlined several initiatives to revitalize the American automotive industry. As the automotive industry is interconnected globally, these proposed changes could have far-reaching effects, influencing production strategies, trade dynamics, and environmental policies worldwide. The proposals include imposing substantial tariffs on imported vehicles, particularly those manufactured in Mexico and China, and offering tax incentives to bolster domestic car production. Trump wants a 100% tariff on cars produced in Mexico, intending to encourage brands like Ford, GM, Stellantis, and others to relocate manufacturing to the United States. We're going to put the biggest tariffs there. There won't be one damn car that's going to be able to come through our border. He plans to ban Chinese brands from the US market and impose high tariffs on vehicles from China and Mexico. To stimulate domestic car production, Trump has proposed making car loans interest tax deductible and lowering the corporate tax rate to 15% for companies manufacturing within the US. We will make the Trump tax cuts the largest tax cut in history. Now, half of that's bluster, because I actually don't think you'll get a lot of those tariffs necessarily across the line. Certainly not the ones in Mexico, because that would be tearing up one of America's longest running and most successful trade agreements, NAFTA. And in regards to the car loans being tax deductible, my understanding is, again, that's a hollow thing as well, in that it actually currently most car loans sit under a certain tax benefit anyway, so you've got to trade that tax benefit for the other. But anyway, Trump winning. Interesting. Not unexpected.
No, I mean, this panel, the three of us, we saw it coming. I think I was surprised by the amount of the swing in some of the swing states. Nevada, which hasn't been settled yet, and Arizona, some of the biggest swings so far with the votes about 90% done. The issue that would concern me is that tariffs have been shown in the past not to work. So this is a short-term issue for the US, and it's going to create a real degree of angst. But Trump is not alone, because the EU is also thumping tariffs on the Chinese. So I don't know what that means for our market. It might mean that we see some more Chinese vehicles still at a reasonable price because we're not putting tariffs on them. So that might be a good thing for us. Well, what will not be a good thing for us is if our agricultural trade starts to get harder and he starts to put tariffs on that. Then our balance of trades, which, because America is a very significant market for us, would be adversely impacted. So it's interesting times as Trump becomes increasingly focused on internal borders to make America great again. He's going to put the American people first. And it's a great slogan, and a lot of Americans want Americans to be put first. I mean, I don't actually oppose putting your own country people first, but there's ways to do it without being xenophobic and without being cutting off your nose to spite your face. And I'm not sure Trump and some in the Trump administration know how to actually not cut their nose off to spite their face. I think they're going to get this wrong. So it's going to be an interesting ride, in my view.
Yeah, I mean the line goes essentially that with tariffs, it's not the exporting nation that pays the tariffs; it's the importing nation. Essentially, someone's got to pay for it. Now, will it encourage some companies to build in America? Yes, but I guess the issue with that is to make that kind of swing is going to take longer than 4 years. And the question is whether someone beyond Trump is going to be willing to carry the mantle for what he starts. And I'm not sure. I'm just not sure.
Well, I think the reality is that the Republican, unless there's some sea change amongst the Democrats, the Republicans have control now for the next 8 years, because I can't see the Democrats rebuilding themselves, which they need to do. And I know this show isn't about politics, but I think the Democrats probably going to need a couple of terms to rebuild the party and establish what they are looking for. There's a couple of points.
I guess it depends on how much Trump lets vengeance get in the way of good governance.
Well, Richard, you've spent time in Middle America, and I've just spent best part of 6 weeks over there this year, and I've spent half my life over in the middle part of America, and that the sentiment that's happened has not surprised me one little bit. We look at the voting map. I think from an automotive sector, there's probably a big FU to the likes of California and to an extent New York that Trump sees as no friends of his anyway when it comes to the automotive sector, the sort of the bastions of foreign cars. So there's not a no love lost there in terms of votes. But a really interesting point, I think, is this juxtaposition with Elon Musk as his strategist now when it comes to a lot of his organizational plans going forward. Musk being obviously the god of all things EV in America, which goes heavily against Trump's what would appear to be disdain for electric vehicles in the marketplace with the incentives that are occurring, particularly on the sideboard states, as to how that'll play out for the likes of Tesla. And how can Elon
Trump
effectively
has very
manipulate
much moderated his position on electric vehicles recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's against subsidies. He's moderated a lot on electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And also bear in mind that Tesla is not just a car company. It's
Yes.
Musk has got a lot of influence in the space program and other defense spending in other areas. So he's positioned himself well to oil the wheels of his profitability, I think is the best way to say it.
I don't think there's any danger of Elon making money out of this, to be honest, David.
No. Graham, most of Elon's companies lose money hand over foot, but the share prices keep on going up. That's how he makes his money. He has no cash.
And he needs tax breaks, which is what why he aligned himself. But bear in mind, the way in which the US politics and the US government works is vastly different to ours. So in the American bureaucracy at the federal level, it is both the equivalent of the CEO, the secretary, and then what they call undersecretaries, which is your tier 2 managers. So your top 2 managers, tiers of management in government departments, federal departments, are placed there by the president. And this is how you get your quick uptake of programs that is then with the incoming government. But it is also why the American bureaucratic system and a political system is seen as a flawed economy, a flawed democracy, because you can get all of this pork barreling politics for getting people basically pay donations to get their person into those top 2 tiers of management. So that's how it works. And Musk is going to have some influence over who gets appointed in various things. And I see Trump has said he's going to be responsible for efficiency of regulation, which is kind of what David Seymour was sort of trying to do here. But I think Musk will be more ruthless in that regard. So there's a lot to unravel here in terms of who they appoint as secretary and undersecretaries in the federal departments.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, of course, with Trump, we still don't know who's got control of the House of Congress. So we know the Senate's flipped to the Republicans, but it looks like at this stage, if the numbers keep going the way it is in California, that the House of Representatives, our Parliament basically, could flip back to the Democrats, but on a pretty razor-thin margin. But we'll see. Takes them a wee while to count stuff up over there. So.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be an interesting few years.
The Dems need another 13, so it depends. You're right. I don't think they're going to make it over the line. I think a lot of people voted strategically where they voted for Trump, but then on the other votes went opposite, a bit like what we do with our strategic voting for MMP.
Yeah. So we will see. Right. So that's that. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a wild couple of years. Surely it's going to be a wild few weeks in January next year. Though at least this time the Democrats have, or Kamala has indicated that they will assist in a peaceful transition of power, unlike a certain other guy who did some dumb shit that apparently they've all forgotten in 4 freaking years. Anyway, I mean, literally, there are people who thought they were going to be killed on January 6th who are now going to welcome the guy who basically made it happen back into the house. It's a weird, weird world. A weird, weird.
Welcome to America. That's why you love it so much. Well, it's why I love it so much anyway. It's never a dull moment, right?
Yes. If you are interested in American politics, highly recommend, weirdly, looking to Australia. The ABC in Australia puts out some amazing material, particularly in podcast form or in YouTube form, around the American political scene. Now, you've got to take it with a little bit of awareness that there is, I think, a bit of a left lean on it, but it is still very good at getting into the nitty gritty of what's happening. And yeah, highly recommend, particularly the Planet America show and podcast on YouTube. And If You're Listening, both very, very good, very, very good. Anyway,
and if you got time, Richard, you have a look at the link that I put on my Facebook feed today. That's written from a Democrat as to why the Democrats lost.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Democrats just, as much as anything, misunderstood that people were hurting in the economy.
Have a read. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Not that I think the Republicans are going to fix it. I think the only thing they're going to have any chance of fixing is they will have an impact on the border. But I don't think they're going to fix the economy, and I don't think they're going to fix anything else. That's just going to take time. So, yeah. Right, let's have a look at our next story. Mixed performance for the October vehicle market. The new vehicle market in October 24 displayed mixed performance, with passenger vehicle registrations slightly declining while commercial registrations experienced modest growth. Passenger registrations were down 5.5% on October last year, while commercial were up 6%. Toyota continued to lead, followed by Kia, with Mitsubishi, Ford, and Mazda behind that. Toyota RAV4 was the top passenger car, followed by the Kia Seltos, Mitsubishi ASX, and Outlander, with the Ford Everest in 5th. So a lot of those are going onto a rental fleet somewhere in the South Island. I'll take a wild guess.
I was going to say, we can summarise this and say that the month again was pretty shit, unless you're in the business of supplying rentals.
Yeah. In the commercial vehicle sector, Ford was top spot with 820, which sounds like a lot of cars, but let's not forget that last year they were doing, last year they were doing 1,500 odd Rangers some months, even though it's down only 0.6 from October last year. Toyota next on 801, that all-important one. Mitsubishi 251 units, followed by Mercedes and Isuzu. Ranger was the top commercial at 732, down from 794. Followed by Hilux, and then the Mitsubishi Triton. Still sucks a bit out there, guys. Still sucks a bit.
Yeah, you think? It does.
But I'm still hearing that maybe the corner is being turned, and every month that gets a little bit better. But it's still shit. Fair call, Graham?
It is. Nah, I don't know. I've given up predicting it, because to be honest, it's been a really difficult couple of weeks in our trade, I think. I mean, again, everyone... My circle is not that large, but everyone we talk to is saying the same thing, that outwardly they think there's a bit more activity out there, that the activity is yet to really spend money. Yes, so people are looking, and it's a lot more than we've seen in the last 4 or 5 months. People are getting out there and looking again, but they're not necessarily making purchasing decisions yet. But I guess they've all got to start somewhere. And you'd sort of thought the used vehicle market is far more a case of people are sort of wandering in and saying, yep, okay, I'll have that one, as opposed to new, where the research process can take months. But I'd almost argue and say the opposite right now. They're walking into the used vehicle dealership as a start of a 2-month process to figure out what they will do when things come right at the first part of next year. It's a really funny market, and stuff is hard to buy in Japan. It's really expensive at the moment, so you don't know whether to buy on the new market in Japan or whether to hold your water. You don't know whether the election of Trump's going to have a factor in the conflict in Ukraine, whether that'll affect the Russian market that's currently giving us a pasting, all these different things. And, if you were asked today, is it a good time to be a used vehicle dealer, start your business up, I'd have to say, no, it's not.
Yeah. the war in the Ukraine is going to be over. The question is it going to be good over or bad over? That's the kind of
depends on your point of view as to
we're
who
going to see
you are.
we're going to see like a negotiated settlement where everyone loses, but at least the Ukraine still exists, or are we going to see US just rug pulling money and weapons and Russia just walking through the Ukraine?
Yeah, don't know. But just coming back to the new vehicle market, I've noted this before on the podcast. It's running at 2014 levels almost consistently throughout the year when you look on a month-by-month comparison. So it is depressed. It is still muddled. The rental car market has sort of hidden some of the issues in the last couple of months. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I think, as I've said before, a lot of it depends on the next cut by the Reserve Bank in the base OCR, combined with what's happening geopolitically. I think it is going to turn the corner, but it took us a little while to slow down, and I think it'll take a little while to pick up. Coming out of the GFC took several years to climb back up. I expect in 2025 the market to gradually flatten out and slowly climb. That is my prediction.
Now, just on
You heard it here first on the show. We'll hold you to it, David.
Passenger vehicles in use, 7,319, a 24.2% decrease from October 2023. Commercial segment down 9.2% to 444 units. Toyota leading ahead of Nissan and Mazda. Aqua continuing to lead, though again its margin is nowhere near as big as it used to be. Followed by the Prius, Corolla, Excella, and Impreza. Hiace, the top commercial.
Same stuff. It's the same vehicles at the moment, month after month. We've got a pretty narrow band of buying.
Now, arrivals, which are always interesting in a situation like this, were up for the month. The vehicles arriving into New Zealand ports in October were up 2,863 units to 16,409. That's month on month. Compares to 13,546 new and used vehicles arriving in September. Now, we know that can go up and down based on a ship arriving, but could also be indicative that people perhaps have enough cash in their pocket to maybe replace a car or two. So, yeah, the split was 8,433 new and 4,730 used.
I think the ship arrival thing
that's good for the new market, but not very good for the used market.
No, but I think it also, Richard, is a lot of what you said there is the shipping schedule's been a lot of change to that, a lot of uncertainty over ships. And I think it's as much to do with the change in those schedules and the uncertainty of it that it is the actual cars going on ships.
Is stock levels down? Are stock levels down?
Yes.
So they've finally been disposing or selling stock, so stock levels are down. So then I would expect to see shipping arrivals to slowly increase.
Can't buy it.
Well, for used, yes, you can't buy it. That is true. Yes.
There's some really interesting stuff going on at the moment in regards to aged stock. There's one brand that's been running a special where basically you can book a 2-week test drive or a 1-week test drive, whatever it is. So you come in, they'll give you a brand new car, you take it away for 2 weeks, you drive it, you bring it back in, you're under no obligation to buy it. But if you do buy it, you can buy it at a used car price, depreciated because it's been used. So
that's desperate.
Yeah.
And yes. I mean, look, I was picking apart some numbers looking at the October statistics, and I'm not going to name any names here, obviously, but there are some brands in the marketplace right now. I don't. If you are selling one of those particular brands, I'm sure you know which ones they are, and they're sold 2 of the entire mark last month, or 3, or in one case a reasonably sized brand. I think I counted 14 vehicles. Again, it just makes it so tough. If you're in that particular side of the business, your side of the showroom, so to speak, it's your job to put the brochures in the racks, and there's just nobody coming in the door to buy your product. incentivization be damned. Part of the problem is everyone's now incentivizing in some way or another. And so your incentive now has no more or less impact than anybody else's incentive because we're all doing the same incentives. It's really tough. There just aren't the bodies on the ground spending money.
Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to...
Good news for the day, right?
Yes. Now, we'll fire through some other news here before we have to run. Giltrap appoints Steve Kenchington as new Group Chief Executive. Now, this is a big appointment. The Giltrap Group has appointed Steve Kenchington as its new Group Chief Executive, effective February 1, 2025. In this new role, he will take the wheel of Giltrap Group's retail, distribution, and rental divisions. Kenchington is a 27-year veteran of the automotive industry. The automotive industry has experienced more change in the past 5 years than in the previous 20 years. It's a fascinating and challenging time, but Giltrap Group has the best automotive brands and the best people, and I cannot wait to lead our 1,000-strong team. I envisage a future where the family-owned Giltrap Group continues to be a leader in the automotive industry, adapting to the changing landscape and maintaining its commitment to being a great New Zealand company driven by the love of cars. He's held executive positions in the automotive finance industry in New Zealand and the UK, and from 2001 to 2007 he was the managing director of Syme Darby Automobiles in New Zealand. He's been with Giltrap Group for 10 years, starting out with Scandinavian Motor Distributors, he's been with Jaguar and Land Rover since 2021. Giltrap Group Chair Chris Quinn likens the new leadership structure to turbocharging the group. Steve has a proven ability to lead high-performance teams and knows our business inside and out. The board is confident that the company will thrive under his leadership. His promotion to Group Chief Executive is not just a new role, it reflects his capability to take Giltrap Group to the next level. Now, we're not entirely sure what this means for the existing structure. We know we've seen a little bit of departure of senior management from the company in recent months. Dane Fisher is currently the head of the retail division, so we're still trying to work out what the actual new structure is there. But Steve Kenchington is well regarded, and interesting to see that appointment there.
He's a good operator
on the MIA, David.
Yes, I did have quite a bit to do with him in my tenure there. He is a good operator. He's a sharp thinker. He doesn't say a lot at times, but when he does, he's usually got a really good point to make. So congratulations to him on that appointment. That's a good role, and he deserves it.
Yep. Now, used car dealership Cars R Us, that's a clever name, placed into liquidation. Ranmac Limited, trading as Cars R Us, a used vehicle dealership in Cunard Street, New Lynn, was placed into liquidation October 30, 2024. The liquidators have fixed November 29 as the day on or before which the creditors of the company are to make their claims. According to the New Zealand Herald records, the company's office show Darren Bearhair is a sole director and shareholder of Ranmac Limited. Reports that liquidators said the company's failure resulted from poor economic and trading conditions coupled with a secured creditor's reposition of the company's inventory. The Herald reports...
There's the story right there.
Yeah, exactly. The Herald reports an NZ notice showed that Simon Byrne Limited had a security arrangement and took possession of collateral. And just to be clear, we're not implying any negative towards Simon Byrne here. They've done exactly what they were supposed to do. Security agreement and took possession of collateral, including a Jaguar F-Pace, a Jaguar F-Type, a Mercedes-Benz A45, Mercedes-Benz C43, a Mercedes-Benz CLA 180 shooting brake. Anyway, a whole pile of late model European metal. Liquidators said they hadn't received any provincial secured or unsecured creditor claims. The 4 financing statements were registered against the company: Sunburn Limited, Sharp Corporation New Zealand, Monument Finance Limited, and Prosper Limited. So, an interesting one there. And yeah, I guess this is the issue: is if you don't own your stock, then it's a delicate time.
Well, I was going to say, and again, nothing against Simon Byrne for doing what they needed to do to secure their vehicles, but there was the issue: was that you've got a dealership trading on oxygen rather than metal. And in the current times at the moment, I understand that it's not sometimes possible, but you're in a much better position if you can own your assets rather than if you have to borrow against the assets sitting there that you are paying money out for that you don't even own. It's a funny little dealership. It's not a front row site. It's sort of tucked off the main drag, one of the byways of New Lynn, on the Ash Street bypass there. So it's not sort of what I call retail street. and it's sort of a mixture of odd little bits and pieces too. And so I wouldn't call it front of center when it comes to a high-end European dealership. And they're often the ones that do get caught a wee bit when things get tough, because they haven't really got anything substantial to fall back on in terms of a customer base or long-standing repeat business. And here we are, and didn't own the stock in the first place. So there's only one way. When things go downhill, there's only one way to go, and that's go with it.
I'd just like to note that the Herald did the daftest, idiotic thing when they put the story out. It was relatively high up the front page, big splash of a picture of just a Mercedes-Benz logo with dealership and liquidation. And I imagine everyone that works at a Mercedes dealership in the upper North Island was probably sweating until they actually looked into the story. It was poor effort by the Herald there.
And the social media comments on those stories, at least 50% of the comments were all, is Mercedes in liquidation? I better go and buy a cheap Mercedes, or they've gone bust. Usual keyboard warriors, obviously, but the message wasn't good. People were picking up on that.
AutoFlip has gained exclusive access to Gulliver's Japan vehicle stock. Dealership buy and sell platform AutoFlip New Zealand has launched new solution for importing vehicles from Japan. The firm has secured an exclusive agreement with Gulliver, Japan's largest vehicle purchaser and retailer, offering around 20,000 vehicles for sale. The agreement grants New Zealand dealers access to select vehicles from Gulliver's stock before anyone else globally, while simplifying the vehicle import process. So yeah, that's another interesting one. Of course, Gulliver's venture into New Zealand didn't go that well, but that's not to say they can't be an excellent source of stock for this market. They are somewhat of a powerhouse up in Japan. You've bought a car at Gulliver's, Graham?
And, old Gulliver, new Gulliver, too expensive. Way too expensive. Their stock was... and bear in mind, I look, nothing against it all, the Gulliver stock coming into AutoFlip. Well done for trying something a little bit new. But part of the issue is there's no shortage of vehicles for sale in Japan. Having access to the vehicles, you can go to USS Yokohama, and there's between 12 and 15,000 cars a day in the auction. It's having access to the stock you want at the right price, and that's the key to everything at the moment. Is any fool can pay too much for a car that they then can't sell, and so the key to it is whether the obtaining of Gulliver's stock lists has any meaningful ability to deliver cars at the right price to Kiwi dealers is what we need right now. So that's the real test, not what it is, but how much is it.
I guess so. The key is that any new opportunity to the market is good, and there'll be some dealers that for whom stock at that part of the market is going to be appropriate, and for others not necessarily. So I personally think it's good to see another option in the market.
And it was good stock too. Let's not take away from the main issue. The Gulliver stock was good stock. It was good, nice stock. So there could be opportunity for somebody on that one.
Now, Toyota has launched the new Prado, predicts 130,000 new vehicle sales. Toyota's new Land Cruiser Prado will finally make its way to customers after a 6-month delay, arriving in New Zealand. A few production holdups have meant the Prado arrived a little later than Toyota New Zealand would have liked, which has seen its usually dominant position in its market segment slip. What they mean by that is that basically they've done 300 Prados this year versus about 2,000 for the Ford Everest. So they've kind of lost that segment for this year, but I suspect with this car they'll get it a long way back. Though I think a lot of people do like the V6 diesel in the Everest.
When did it come out in Japan?
I don't think it's been out that long. I think to stay in it's a big delay is more of a...
Been longer than 6 months, though. It's been longer than 6 months. And so it seems to me as if because I know the demand for it in Japan was enormous. It did really, really well when it was introduced to markets. So it's probably a case of the Japanese market perhaps being serviced first. And so the export market's perhaps taking a bit of a back seat for a little bit until that initial rush was taken care of.
I also think that the American market probably got a bit of a lean on with the chassis itself, because they get it as a Lexus, and I think they're getting it as a Toyota as well. I think it's been quite popular. They've got 400 orders. They think they'll do 600 by the end of the year, but they've secured 500 production slots. They note that the boot is a bit iffy. The with the hybrid battery under the floor, the third row does take up quite a bit of space. So they've done some tricks to make it work a little better with a storage box and stuff like that there. But they are going to also bring in a 5-seat version, which will offer a lot more rear space. Tour New Zealand Vice President Andrew Davis says the company still expects an overall market total of 130,000 vehicles for the year. While sales are tracking down with a decline of 13.5% year on year, Toyota is doing okay. He says additional rental volume is helping while demand in the passenger market is subdued. The commercial market remains steady. Davis says Toyota performance in the segment would be much better if they had a supply of Hiace, the van, with a 6-month waiting list, which has gone down a lot because I remember middle of last year you couldn't get one till now, basically. So yeah, interesting. On to Ingham Hyundai. Hamilton has won the Hyundai's 2024 Dealer of the Year award. Ingham Hyundai Hamilton celebrates success as the 2024 Hyundai New Zealand Dealer of the Year. Dealership received the national award at a recent Hyundai dealer conference. Yeah, a good award there for that dealership. I couldn't be more pleased with this remarkable result, Ingham Group Managing Director Trent Ingham says. Giltrap Group opens new Lexus showroom in Newmarket. If you wait for AutoTalk coming out on Monday, we've got a really good walkthrough of this dealership. Following a multi-million-dollar refurbishment, the former home of Winger Maserati at 21 Great South Road, Newmarket, has been transformed into the new Lexus of Auckland showroom. The building has 2,800 square metres of space on 2 levels and has up to 48 vehicles and has EV charging stations for 6 cars. Customers will be supported by 34 Lexus of Auckland City staff. Opened on November 1. Unlike the typical dealership, which includes an exterior car yard and sales office, Lexus of Auckland City's entire operation, excluding the service department, is housed in the new showroom building. It's quite an interesting building, that one. It's got a lot of space. Yeah, really nice place to be. It's like a yard with couches.
Look forward to the walkthrough.
Yes. Lexus of Auckland City Chief Executive Charlene Van Dyke says newly refurbished premises at 21 Great South Road reflect the brand and its promise. And then going from your comments earlier about brands that, you know, they're not doing what we think is necessarily massive volume at the moment, the amount of investment going into Lexus, I think a lot of smart people are picking that to be a very big shifting brand over the next few years. So be interesting to see where that goes. NZTA appoints new board members. Transport Minister Simi Brown has announced 2 new appointments to the New Zealand Land Transport Agency Board. Mary Ann McLeod and Mike Rudge have both been appointed as members for 3-year terms commencing November 1 and October 31st, 2027. McLeod is an experienced director who currently serves on the boards of the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, Ag Research, the Environmental Protection Authority, Dairy NZ, Fire and Emergency, and the University of Waikato. Meanwhile, Rudge serves as chair of ITS Systems New Zealand and has over 20 years' experience leading organisations. He's stepping down from ITS New Zealand. So yeah, that's a couple of new board members there. They've pretty much had a big chunk of the board change this year, I believe, David. I'm not sure if you've been watching that from a distance. 2 good appointments there, or you're a bit out of the loop on them?
I know Mary Ann McLeod. She's a good operator, got a sharp brain on her. I don't know the other guy. Simon Bridges, of course, is the chair. So there are a lot of, I wouldn't say a churn as such, but the board replacements are cyclical. So there are quite a few positions have been replaced at the moment. I think the board is going to be quite different now to what it was 18 months ago, and a little bit more in tune with this government's agenda. So that should be a good thing. Yeah. I continue to hear, I'm going to say this carefully, I continue to hear that staff within the NZTA are confused and befuddled about what they do, and there's not a lot of connection with the agency. It's quite a hard place to work in, with so much change going on. But they need to settle down, and I think they just need to reconnect with what their role is and with the stakeholders out there so they can get some clarity around priorities.
And last story of the day, experienced financier to drive credit strategy at MTF Finance. MTF Finance has announced the appointment of Zoe Anderson as its new Chief Credit Officer, effective January 2025. Anderson joins the team with 30 years' experience at RAC Finance in Western Australia, where she was Senior Operations Manager. Her background in credit management and term leadership is expected to play a pivotal role in MTF Finance's continued growth. So yeah, another great addition to the team there at MTF. They've really been growing very fast in recent years, and yeah, good to see something that has dealers as shareholders is doing well.
Yeah.
Because the dealerships aren't necessarily at the moment.
Make your money on the book instead.
Well, historically though, that's often been the way, isn't it? Some years you make money on the cars, some years you make money on the workshop, some years you make money on the finance. So yeah, just is what it is. Anyway, right. Now, that is it for today. Thank you all for joining us. I am totally not about to land in Sydney to see the Ranger plug-in. Well, totally not to see the Ranger plug-in hybrid as well at a show alongside some Zeekas and some D-Pals and some all sorts of interesting stuff. But yeah, thanks.
Interesting weekend.
Yes, and we'll see you next week for the AutoTalk Weekly Wrap.